Hi, you're listening to Behind the Bib podcast with Lisa Watkins. Real talk for every runner. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Bib, where we have real talk for every runner. And I am your host, Lisa Watkins. And guess what? I am delighted to be here today. To those of you who have liked, followed, played, all the things, thank you so much. I appreciate that because it helps me get this content out in front of people like you and me, and sometimes people that might be a little unsure about tackling their first 5K, their first 10K, their first marathon or half marathon. So thank you so much for doing that because I really hope to grow this sport. That's really why I do it. I hope to encourage people to get out there because honest to God, this has been the number one thing that has changed my life, hands down. And honestly, my life literally changed for the better when I started running consistently and regularly. Can I say that word right? I can't. Regularly? There we go, folks. So, and that's why I do this podcast, is so that people can come and join this running community that's so wonderful, that's so welcoming, that is so encouraging, and they can have all of these benefits too, right? That's the whole reason why I'm doing this. So I hope that's coming across, and if it's not, you have the permission to come up to me and maybe not smack me, but just come up to me and say, hey, it's not coming across, and then maybe I'll change something. I don't know. I'm trying the best I can, folks. I'm doing the best I can. All right, so speaking the best I can, a quick shout out to Brittany and Pete. Thank you so much. We were talking so we went for a long run this past weekend, and we did it at Park Run, kind of in conjunction with Park Run. We had planned to actually start the long run so that we got 2.5 miles in, or maybe it was 3 miles in, before Park Run started. And then we would join up with Park Run as they started, and then we would finish out the long run. Well, we got behind a little bit, had a little bit of a bathroom break, had to Home Depot stop, had to do the things. And so we didn't quite start exactly when Park Run started. That's okay. We'll try it again in the future. But after Park Run, a whole bunch of folks tend to go to El Vaquero for breakfast afterwards. And it's one of the few Mexican restaurants here in Huntsville that has lattes. And so it's a fabulous place, and it's pretty close to Park Run. So we go there, we hang out, we chat, we have lattes and stuff like that. Anyway, had a delightful conversation with Brittany and Pete. We talked about, they're fairly new to the area, been here a couple of years, and we had talked about doing greenways, and they're like, I don't know about that greenway. We've only been here a couple of years, and they've been like, you know what would be actually excellent is to hear about the greenways and like more places to run and your perspective on it. And I was like, damn, you really want to know my opinion? Okay. Well, I guess that's why I started a podcast, so that's what I'm going to do. So starting with the next few episodes, I'm going to start like doing a round the Huntsville Greenway tour. And so I'm going to kind of divvy up the city into like north, south, east, and west. I'm going to hit up a bunch of greenways, and then I'm going to tell you about them. I'm going to tell you how long they are, if they have bathrooms, if they have like all the things, if there's sketch to them or anything. So I'm going to try to do that and provide you guys just like my recommendations, my take on it. Like, is the path really great? Is it a rubber thing? So yeah, I'm going to do all the things. So thank you, Brittany and Pete. This is literally what I live for, is to go out there and talk to you guys and just get recommendations for stuff that you want to hear about. Honest to God. Otherwise I'm just up here in this bedroom making shit up. And so it's much more helpful if you tell me, hey, you know what I would love to listen to? This. And so that's what I'm going to do. So thanks, Brittany and Pete. I appreciate it. Another quick shout out to Anteater Ashley, Gold Star for the week. Holy crap, girl. So Ashley and I went for a very first track workout. So I've been doing track workouts for a while, and I positively love them. It's kind of my jam. I love me a good track workout. Where my mind seems to break is long, slow distance runs or a time trial. I craptastically complete those every single time. I don't know what happens to my brain, but it just is like scrambled eggs. I don't know. I'll just completely lose my shit every time I have a time trial. But anyway, Ashley, Thank you for getting me through the 5K time trial that we did this past week, and thank you for meeting me at the track. That was a super fun track workout. I appreciated your presence there. All right, so you guys, guess what today is? Today is the day. I know I've been hyping it up and talking about it like in our runs and all that stuff. They're like, she's never going to do it. I'm gonna do it. This is the one. This is the retort episode to the back of the pack. Second win, run the nation, grit, gators, and southern hospitality. Where you heard the fabulous Kyle Walker talk about all the wonderful races in the South, which actually made me very proud to be in the South because we are kind of fantastic most of the time. There's a few things that I could improve on, but we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about the things that we're really good at. Some of the things we're good at, some solid sweet tea. If you've never had it, you should probably come try some. It'll change your life. Some fantastic hospitality. When we mean come sit and stay a while, we absolutely mean come sit and stay a while. We'll chat and you will feel like family before you leave. You will also not find better food. You go down to Louisiana and Baton Rouge and New Orleans, try to find you some better food than what they've got down there. You're not going to be able to, because it's fantastic. All right. So there's some wonderful, wonderful things in the South. There's some beautiful landscape. There's some beautiful mountains, beautiful lakes, rivers, valleys, all of the things, right? So I'm very proud to be from the South and living in Huntsville, Alabama right now. I'm actually originally from Georgia, but I live in Huntsville, Alabama, and I happen to love Huntsville, Alabama. We have one of the most bomb run communities that there is. Y'all don't realize, like our Fleet Feet, first of all, our little town here, we have fantastic running stores. Not only do we have one great Fleet Feet. It's huge. It is so super active. We have two great Fleet Feets. We have the Madison Fleet Feet and we have the Southeast Huntsville Fleet Feet. We also have Running Lane, who hosts group runs. Their store is fairly new, but they've been timing and putting on races for years now. We also have stores like First Place Athletics that have been doing triathlon gear for years and years and years. So we have a whole plethora. We've got a huge athletic community here, and it's just fabulous. Not every community is like this, so we're so stinking spoiled, and it's great. I'm here for it, and I love Huntsville. So, but y'all, this is it. This is the retort episode. So Kyle recorded a wonderful a series on his podcast, Back of the Pack, and it's the second episode. He started a second episode every week, and it's called Second Wind. Ha ha. Super witty title, by the way. So it's Back of the Pack, Second Wind, and he did a tour of the nations, of all of the best races in each of the different regions. If you haven't listened to it, y'all should totally go listen to it, because he gave me some ideas for some races. I was like, shoot, that sounds like fun. Let's go do that one. Anyway, in one of those episodes, Kyle mentions that Ohio, actually, he doesn't mention Ohio, and not specifically Ohio. He says Flying Pig is one of the best races in the South. I absolutely 100% agree with him. Flying Pig is one of the best races. However, I do not think that it belongs in the South. So this is officially the retort episode of the best races in the South. And it's just my take. And so some of these are races that I've personally run. Some of these are because I didn't run every race out here, y'all. So some of these races are some of my favorites. Some of the races are ones that I have personally done. Some are just highly recommended, and some have been recommended by running buddies. And so you're going to get to that in just a second. Also coming up, if you haven't listened to Back of the Pack, and I know I'm going to shut up about that in just a second, but I will say his 200th episode is coming up. I'm going to do a little thing for him. He's going to be, included in the episode as long as I don't screw it up royally, which there's always a possibility of me doing that. We'll see. But we're putting something special in production for that, so y'all stay tuned. And I will post the links probably everywhere. I'll probably plaster them all over my car if they happen to be included. Before we get too far, I just want to say congratulations on your 200th episode. That's a huge achievement, and just the things that you have done for this community are spot on. And I hope he 100% forgives me for this episode. Okay. Y'all, I have got some plans for Behind the Bib, because we've got some festivals that are coming up in Huntsville, like fitness festivals and things like that I'm partnering with, and I'm super excited about it. So I'm going to be out there at the Fleet Feet Fall Fest, and then I think it's called the Fit Fest. It's a new one. At least it's new to me. I haven't heard of it. So we're going to be, Behind the Bib's going to be set up at those. And we're in discussions with some other podcasts as well. So that's going to be kind of super exciting. So there's more to come about all of that. Don't worry. I will be able to tell you everything in just a few short weeks. But without further ado, let's get into our first segment. And y'all are going to be so excited, because it is good reviews and bad jokes, where if you leave me a comment or a good review on any of the podcast platforms, I will dedicate a bad joke to you. And I actually got to meet one of the recent commenters, Shelby Britt, at the park run last week. If you remember, Shelby gave the last comment on the podcast. So Shelby, thank you for introducing yourself to me. It was very nice to meet you. You're a speedy McSpeedster demon. So probably won't be running with you in the future, but I will see you running by, probably. All right. It was great to meet you. Anyway, but you know what, y'all? I was a little sad. There were no new comments or no new ratings on the podcast this week. So y'all just gonna have to wait for some bad jokes, because I've got some really good ones, but you're gonna have to wait on them. It's fine. My feelings aren't hurt, really. All right. This is what you've been waiting for. I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for the right time till I was in the right space, and I would be able to give it all the things that I needed to give it. And I'm finally there. The best races in the South. And instead of picking I don't have 25 races. I picked a handful of races, one for each southern state. All right, so each of the southern states, or each of the states that I consider southern, and I have, I think, gotten a pretty good consensus on it. First off, I'm not including Texas. Texas is not this. In my head, I know Texas is southern, but Texas is really its own thing. Right? There's all of Texas. Texas is the size of half of all of the southern states put together, right? Texas is its own thing, not including that. I'm also not including Florida. You can come after me if you want to, but everybody knows that Florida is the New Jersey of the South. Not including Florida. I'm also not including West Virginia. I looked up all the maps and the things. I was like, who the crap puts West Virginia in the South? Absolutely not doing that. Likewise, Oklahoma and Arkansas. Who the heck drew the maps? Oklahoma and Arkansas are not in the South. They are very much Midwest. And so I'm just saying, if you have snow plows to deal with the snow and ice, if you do not have sweet tea, if you do not talk with accents that people make fun of you for, I don't know. I don't think I can consider you the South, so I'm not going to. So the states that I'm going to consider the South for the purposes of this podcast are going to be Virginia, but Southern Virginia, okay? There's one really great race in Virginia I wanted to include, and I was like, okay, we can do that. Tennessee, obviously. Kentucky, obviously. North Carolina, obviously. South Carolina, obviously. Did I say Tennessee? I think I did. Georgia, obviously. Alabama, obviously. Right? There's also another race in Louisiana, but I thought the episode was going to get too long for me to include that, so I didn't do it. So one of the things I want to tell you, the races that I think are really good, or that have been rated really high, and then also they're just when I choose a race, the first few half marathons I wanted to run, I went out there and I said, okay, what are the most fun half marathons? That's how I picked my races. What are the most fun half marathons? Then I would Google what half marathons have the most generous time cutoff, or what marathons have the most generous time cutoff. That way I could go out there and not kill myself and enjoy myself. Right? So that's how I pick my races. If you don't pick your races like that, that's fine. But these races, I think, would meet all of the above requirements. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with Virginia. How about that? So first and foremost, in Virginia, I'm going to give the Yuengling Shamrock Marathon Weekend in Virginia Beach. I know it's not, it's right on the cusp of South, but I'm going to include it because it's a bomb-ass marathon and half marathon. It was fantastic. We did that half marathon a few years ago in celebrations of a big birthday. They do a fantastic job at that marathon. You run through, there's a Navy base there, there's flyovers, there's like the best after party, well, second best after party that I have attended in any race. It's right there on the beach. It's pretty darn cold though, because it's a St. Patrick's Day weekend, and y'all know how much I like to dress up for a race, especially St. Patrick's Day. So the Virginia Beach Yuengling Shamrock Marathon Weekend was wonderful. The race experience was great. I will say we ran the half marathon. Running buddy Christy ran the full marathon. The half marathon course was much more fun than the marathon course, if I do have to say. So the half marathon course, you like split at like when you're fixing to finish, the half marathoners finish, and then the full marathoners keep on going. Now, from what I heard was that the rest of the marathon course the wind was pretty hellacious because you're right there on the coast, and it's March and like Virginia, so it's not super warm. But they make up for it because at the end, you walk in, there's a big tent, huge tent on the beach, huge sand structures everywhere that you can take pictures with. There's a PR bell out there, but you go in and there's like a straight up concert going on. Your bib has 4 beer tickets on it and I think 2 meal tickets. And by the end of it, they weren't even pulling the tickets. They were like, please, dear God, just drink the beer so we don't have to take these kegs home. And so all the beer you probably wanted to drink ever. And it was like, it's just a great race, right? It's a festive St. Patrick's Day beach party. The finishers get a bottle of Yuengling, and actually you don't get a bottle. You get like all the Yuengling that you really want to drink, and Irish stew. And that was really super good because it's cold out there and you get in and the stew, that meat and protein and the potatoes and everything in it was delicious. It was great. Fantastic. Highly recommend. Virginia, the Yuengling Shamrock Marathon Weekend. Cutoff time for this marathon, 7 hours, 30 minutes. Pretty darn generous, right? Just right under there is the Every Woman's Marathon with 7 hours and 45 minutes. So very generous cutoff time. The half had a 4-hour cutoff time. There's more races that weekend, but I don't have them listed here. So anyway, Virginia Yuengling Shamrock Marathon Weekend. That is in Virginia Beach. I loved it. I had a great time. All right, coming up on Tennessee. This is a race that I haven't done, and I'm thinking I'm going to go do it next year because everyone that I talk to says that it is the most fun, like wonderful and emotional race that they have experienced. Kyle and Back of the Pack even included it in their list of best Southern races, and that is the St. Jude Memphis Marathon Weekend. And I don't blame them because everyone that I've talked to said that this is a fantastic race, especially the part where you run through, I think you run by the hospital, and then the patients and all of their families come out. And I think it would just be so wonderful to go out there where my race dollars are going to benefit the cancer research, these families, all of the good work that this does. And I think that that would just be fantastic, right? So I think they have a marathon, a half marathon, a 10K, and a 5K. I think it's a whole big race weekend. I think the special thing about it is that the runners pass through that St. Jude campus, and then they're cheered on by the patients and the families. And I think that that would just be spectacular and wonderful. And this race has been recommended to me by several running buddies. Like I think Catherine was the last one. Running buddy Catherine was the last one to recommend it to me. So I'm going to look into this next year and put it on my list because everyone that I have talked to about the St. Jude weekend is just like all of the things. It is fantastic. I think this marathon has a 6 hour, 30-minute cutoff, so it's not super long, but at least it's not just 6 hours. It's 6 hours, 30 minutes. I think the half marathon has a little bit over a 4 hour cutoff, and then the 10K, 2 hours, and 5K, about an hour and 30 minutes. So I think it's a fairly pace-inclusive marathon, but again, I think the real draw from this one is that impactful run as you're going through the St. Jude campus. So, and like, you know, as everybody knows, cancer absolutely sucks. I had to go up to Kentucky and help take care of my brother, right? And kids with cancer suck even more. So I think anytime that I can go off and do the race things and then also contribute those funds to help making that crap end forever for everyone, I think it would be very, very good things. All right, let's keep moving. How about some North Carolina? Now, this race I had actually not heard of. It was not recommended to me, but as I was doing research for this episode, this came up, and I thought, well, what the hell? I'll include it because it just sounded interesting. So this is a half marathon and a 5K. It's called the Mother Earth Brewing Ironclad Half Marathon and 5K in Kinston, North Carolina. So this one was really highly rated by folks that had done the race. And I thought, oh, interesting. I don't know anyone that has personally done this race. So if you have personally ran the Mother Earth Brewing Ironclad Half Marathon, let me know. If you've done this race and it is as wonderful as all the reviews make it out to be, let me know, because I might put that on the list for next year too. So one of the reviews out there said that this race never disappoints. They seem to have the weather perfect every year. How do they do that? Medals and shirts are always big and loud, and the after party is awesome with music and great food. Next year, they will start with a cannon and finish on the first baseline of the historic Granger Stadium. So that sounds actually pretty cool to me. Cutoff time for the half is 3 hours, 30 minutes. That's pretty generous. And then the 5K is 1 hour, also pretty generous. So I think it's pretty pace inclusive too. But again, if you have done this race, let me know, because I would love to know like your personal experience with it. I hate to recommend something and not have done it myself, but also it's not reasonable. Like, I can't have done all of the races. Like, I can't have possibly have done all of the great races, right? Another one that I have not done, but that was highly recommended to me by that, oh, do you remember that race that I reviewed? That horrible, horrible, horrible race in downtown Atlanta, the hometown half marathon that was like absolutely atrocious words, Lisa. Atrocious. There we go. That race, I had a new running buddy that stayed back there with us. She was the turtle. She was supposed to be the last runner to come in after the sweepers. So we were talking. Oh, we had plenty of time to talk, so we talked a lot, right? And she recommended the Cooper River Bridge run. That's in Charleston. Now, I've never been to Charleston. I know I grew up in Georgia, and it shouldn't have been that far, but we were poor as dirt, and I didn't get to go. So Charleston apparently is a fantastic city, and I've always wanted to go, and maybe this is a reason for me to do that. So this 10K apparently is fantastic. It runs across the Cooper River Bridge. And apparently this is the statistics said was that this race across North America's longest cable-stayed bridge. Apparently it's huge. It's capped at over about 40,000 runners. My God, is it that big? I do remember, I think her name was Sadie. Was her name Sadie? Telling us that it's massive and they just take over the whole town. So, and their tagline is just get over it. And it's the third largest 10K in the United States. And it really is, I think it really is 40,000 people. That's a big dang race, y'all. But I would go for two reasons. First, because, I don't know, just having a race t-shirt that says get over it sounds pretty dang cool to me. Second, Charleston is supposed to have some of the best food in the world. Again, reference statement above, South has some of the best food in the world. So, I would love to go do this race, Cooper River Bridge Run. That's in Charleston, South Carolina. Apparently, they don't have a real strict cutoff time, but there's a race, like a race car, the opposite of a pace car. There's a race car, like a sweeper van, but I think they keep like a 17-minute mile pace. So I think it's actually pretty generous. And but their website did say that the finish line does stay open for the very last runner. So hats off to you. I would love to go do this race myself. Okay, up next is the Mississippi Gulf Coast Marathon Weekend in Biloxi, Mississippi. If you ask my running buddy, it's fantastic because it starts next to a casino, I think. So I have actually not done this marathon or half marathon before, but I included it on the list because we plan on doing it this year. Is it going to go great? Who knows? Because it's just a couple of weeks after the Every Woman's Marathon, and I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be completely recovered enough to run a half marathon. We shall see. Now, in terms of pace inclusivity, I don't know if this one is specifically pace inclusive, and that is because it has a pretty strict 6-hour time limit. They say that the course will be closed at a 13:45 minute per mile pace. No race services, including medical, aid stations, or traffic control, are available beyond this pace. The finish line remains open until 1 p.m., assuming a 7 a.m. start. And they say that participants must cross the finish line by 1 p.m. in order to be considered an official finisher. Now, after 1 p.m., the finish line is taken down and medals will not be awarded after the 1:15 p.m. cutoff. No exceptions, y'all. All right, coming up next, I've got 2 more races to talk about. And I could not do an episode about the best races in the South without including the Peachtree Road Race. Now, everybody talks about Peachtree and everybody wants to go do Peachtree. And I don't think I should even do a show about the best races in the South without including Peachtree. However, with that said, I haven't done Peachtree. I grew up in Georgia. And part of the reason is I'm just afraid of the heat, y'all, because it is in downtown Atlanta in July and 10K. It's a 10K and it's on July 4th, right? And maybe I'll do it one year just to say that I did it. Folks, this is one of the top races. Like, it's the largest 10K in the United States, right? It might be in the world. I think it's the largest 10K in the world, y'all. But really, I've heard that it's hotter than hell. And I get it. Like, it's fine to be a hot race. You just train for it and you go in and expecting it and you have all your supplies and you do all the things, right? I get that. But I haven't done this race personally, and I think, I'm going to have to do it at some point, just maybe not yet. I have heard that spectators have trouble seeing, like, their runners. So if you're going to, like, cheer on your friends or whatever, I think how the race lines up, it's hard for you to find your runners. And then I think they finish there in Piedmont Park, where it's just like they just open the gates, right? And then you have, 40,000 people out there in Piedmont Park, and it's just dang near impossible to find your runner afterwards. So I'll probably do it in the future. I had to include it in here because, number one, I'm from Georgia, and it's the biggest race in Georgia. And number two, you just can't do an episode about the best Southern races and not include the Peachtree Road Race, right? It's another one of those races where you can get the medal, but you can't get the t-shirt. Like, only the finishers get the t-shirt. So that's the thing. Okay, so the 10K starts with a staggered start, waves starting 6:50 a.m. with waves going about every 5 minutes. And it says here that the race does not have a time cutoff for the in-person race. They must finish the 10K course, but there's no time limit to complete it. Is that really true, y'all? The Peachtree Road Race does not have a time limit? I need to go fact check that. Okay, I'm not going to fact check it right now, but I do need to go fact check that. If you have done the Peachtree Road Race and you know for sure that it doesn't have a time limit, would you let me know? Because, I don't know, there's a little part in my belly that does not want to trust that. Just when a race says, no time limit, I'm like, you're just going to close the streets of Atlanta forever? I don't know. How does that work? So let me know if you've done that. And finally, to round out our list, we have the Rocket City Marathon Weekend here in yours truly hometown of Huntsville, Alabama. We have a marathon, we have a half marathon, we have 10K, we have 5K, we have kids race, we have all the things. Now, this marathon is fantastic and special because it gives a big nod out to our space history here in Huntsville, where the Apollo program started, where von Braun started the whole thing. And we have NASA out here, all the wonderful things, all the ties to the Rocket City. You get to run around all of the wonderful historic neighborhoods. You go out to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. You get to run under the Saturn V. You run through the beautiful Huntsville Botanical Gardens. You finish at the great big Civic Center. There's all the wonderful parties that happen after it. It is just fantastic. The race director this year is Eric Fritz, and they are doing a wonderful job with this race. This is the first year they are actually partnering with the Huntsville Hospital Foundation, and the proceeds from the 2025 race weekend, they help go fund a therapy playground for the pediatric patients here at Huntsville Hospital. So I would be 100% remiss if I did not include the Rocket City Marathon Weekend in the list of top Southern races that you must go do. Now, they have, over the past few years, their medals and their race weekend, they do like a whole theme. One weekend it was like aliens coming. They had a whole comic book situation. Wonderful, wonderful things to say about the Rocket City Marathon. I have personally only done the half marathon. My marathons were in other locations, but even the folks that have done the Rocket City Marathon, they do recommend it. This marathon, it does have a 6-hour cutoff, but they started a few years ago doing an early start. You can get there an hour early, and that gives you an hour more for the race cutoff. And so instead of 6 hours, you actually have 7 hours to complete the marathon. So in terms of pace inclusivity, I would say it's fairly pace inclusive. I would not give it the most pace inclusive because, again, some of the earlier races I mentioned have a 7-hour 30-minute cutoff as well as like a 7-hour 45-minute cutoff. But I get it. 7 hours still pretty darn good. So good job, Rocket City Marathon. Also, I want to give some honorable mentions out there. There's a quirky little run series in North Georgia called the River Walk. Can't say it. Called the River. Again, can't say it. River Walk. River Walk. There we go. River Walk. Nope, still didn't do it. River Walk Run Series. And that run series has a race called the Trout Trot. Then in the summertime, they have the Walk the Line. And then in the fall, they have the Big Foot Boogie. Now, this little race is in a little town called McCaysville, Georgia. It's a little tiny little town up in the North Georgia mountains. And it is so daggum cute. You start in this little downtown park, and these are my favorite races. Y'all know these are my favorite races. You start in this little downtown park, and you run along the river, and you kind of just turn around at the end, and you run back. And it's just wonderful. It's such an adorable little town. Get you a little Airbnb up there, do the race, because it's just an adorable little experience. And just the names themselves. You get the t-shirts and the medals, and they're all 5Ks. Super daggum cute. If you go in the fall, if you can only do one, do that Big Foot Boogie, because it's like a Sasquatch theme thing. And then they have people come in Sasquatch costumes. Everybody dresses up. And then you're in the North Georgia mountains in the fall. And so you can stop at all of the all of the apple barns and the apple orchards and do the apple picking and get fresh apple cider and all of the wonderful things. Right. It's just fantastic. I can just smell the apple cider now. And did you know that there are varieties of apples grown in the North Georgia mountains that you cannot get anywhere else in the world? Bet you didn't. So go pick apples, walk in the leaves, smell the pumpkin spice, do all the things. It's wonderful. Wonderful little race series. All right, now finally, I could not do an episode about the best races in the South without giving an honorable shout out to those races, those local races to Huntsville, like the Cotton Road, the Race for Justice, and the Wild Things series put on by Running Lane. Those are all coveted, wonderful races that our communities put on. And I'm also going to list, and even though I'm a little bit scared to do this, I'm also going to list the Crazies Trifecta in this list, if only for the camaraderie that I have seen come out of it. Now, I'm a little bit terrified to train for this race, to be honest, because it's 3 half marathons over 3 days. It's straight up Barkley style because you don't know the full race course. You don't know the elevation. You don't know where the route is even going to start. And the distances are really just suggestions, I've heard. So we'll see what that's like, and you will definitely be hearing about it if I get brave enough to do it. Here's hoping I can. Next year is actually supposed to have some kind of little twist to it too. So I don't know what that means, and I'm even more scared. But okay, that's it. That's a list of the best races in the South, the best races that I think are in the South, or some of the best races in the South. Now, obviously, I haven't gone off and done every race out there in the South. There's no way I can possibly do that. So, what did I miss? Did I miss some out there? What do you recommend that I go do? What do you recommend that the listeners go try out? Do you have something really special about your race? Is it super pace inclusive? Do you care about that very last finisher just as much as you care about that very first finisher? Let me know. Drop it in the comments down below the show. And maybe Behind the Bib can show up at your race in the future. Who knows? All right, folks, another little announcement. If you are curious about how to run here in Huntsville, if you want to join a run club, or if you want to just have some folks to run with, check out the Huntsville Runs newsletter. All you have to do is go drop your email address in there, and you will get one shot over into your email every Sunday night that has a list of every community run that we have, as well as the upcoming races. And you know what? Super free. You don't have to pay for it. So the awesome Will Nevin just does it out of the kindness of his heart. So thank Will the next time you see him out on the road running. If you can catch him. He's pretty fast. Okay, we have come to the time where we talk about upcoming local races. So it is almost at the end of August. And so coming up, we've got the Running of the Bulls 5K and 1 Mile Fun Run. That's the race over in Hampton Cove. Also, we've got the Race for Justice 5K, 10K, and y'all heard the episode with Jerry Plain and Nicole Schroer that we talked about the competitive sleeping in option. And boy, doesn't that sound nice. Also, out there on Marshall Space Flight Center, if you want the chance to run through NASA and all of the rockets in the rocket park, we have the Safety Day 5K coming up on September 13th. We also have the Rails to Recovery 5K on September 13th. And coming up in October, the first one that I've got on the list is the Helping Hands Half Marathon and 5K. But I know that's not going to be the only races in October. Okay, folks, so that's it. That wraps up my list of best Southern races and the retort episode. Okay, coming up, I'm going to be doing that tour of the Huntsville Greenways coming up. I'm going to split the city up in quadrants, I think, north, south, east, and west. I'm going to go do some greenways. Then I'm going to come back and tell you about them because I think that would be super helpful, and so do Brittany and Pete. So coming up on the next few episodes, I'm going to be doing a tour of Huntsville Greenway. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to tell you who's the cream of the crop and who's the bottom of the barrel. Hopefully there's not any bottom of the barrels, but I'll tell you about it if there is. Okay, folks, going to wrap this up. Y'all stay cool out here. The PRs, don't worry, those PRs are going to come in the fall. Hold on, we're almost there. Halfway through August, I can taste it, literally taste the pumpkin spice. So it's almost here. Do me a favor, go over there, check out Behind the Bib Podcast on Instagram, Behind the Bib on Facebook, and Behind the Bib Podcast on YouTube. Do the like, do the follow, do the things, interact with all the reels and stuff like that. Not because I want to become rich and famous, because I want this content to encourage people out there to keep up the good work and to try something new if you're a little bit scared. Okay, folks, y'all, seriously, thank you so much for being here. Let's keep showing up for one another, whether you are first, whether you are last, or whether you are somewhere in between. I will see you next time we are Behind the Bib. Y'all take care. Bye-bye. You've been listening to Behind the Bib, where we have real talk for every runner.